Let's welcome to the stage now Heeral Gudka.
Thank you, Carrie. I loved hearing your talk. I know we were practicing upstairs and totally ignoring each other, so it was nice to actually hear it. And thank you, Animas, for this opportunity to come and speak to everybody here today and share my piece of the coaching world. My coaching world falls into two parts. I have a personal coaching practice, private clients, and also a corporate practice. And I'm here today to talk to you about the corporate side of things. Before I do that, though, I want to play you a quick video. Is that it? Yeah.
All right, settle down, people. Listen up. We have to cut this company's budget in half, and we are not leaving this room until we do it. Is that clear? Is that clear? Good. Now, I want you all to dig deep. I need your best ideas, and I need them now. Shelley?
Well, I looked at the budget, and frankly, I think we're spending way too much on transportation.
Transportation, huh? Daniel, what do you think?
Sir, our online division is hemorrhaging money. I say we lose it.
Okay. Peter?
I gotta go with Danny here.
Derek?
I lose tech support.
Okay. Red? Downsized research?
Water guy? I don't work here.
Right.
Here's what Derek said.
Mountain Joe?
We could consolidate marketing.
Snake Eye?
Scale back IT.
Chief Big Cloud?
Long before this
Enough now, Gary.
Chief Big Cloud.
I will cut accounting.
Crazy Carl?
Massive layoffs.
Gigantic Turkey South? No time for joking, gigantic Turkey South. Mountain Tiger Head?
Long strips.
Did you prepare for this meeting?
No.
Right, okay. Invisible Man?
Invisible Man.
Zach sick.
Captain Pajama Shorts?
Present.
Never mind. Arcade Fire?
Human resources.
Yeah. I see. Guys, I've got some very bad news.
Right. Thankfully, that's not what the corporate world looks like most of the time. But I have sat through meetings that had a similar kind of flavour. And that's why I'm here to talk to you today about how I'm romancing the corporate market. And it really is romancing. Let me tell you why. For 14 years, I lived deep within the corporate world. And for 14 years, it was a really unfulfilling relationship. There were some good times, some fun stories to share, but the reality was actually pretty troubling. Managers at odds with each other, not able to direct their teams, ideas not being shared because people were afraid. There was one company where they never let anybody work from home except under the most distressing circumstances. It was pretty negative. You add all of this together and it's a recipe for disengagement. So it was really easy to fall out of love with the corporate world. I wanted to leave it and never come back. I found coaching, and it sang to me. It was like a clarion call that said, this is what I've been looking for. I loved it and I wanted it, even though I didn't realize it right away. Then I found Animas, and Animas showed me the power and the impact that coaching can have, as well as the nurture and support it brings too. So, I say I left the corporate world and I didn't want to return, but I'm here right now and I'm talking to you about how I'm romancing it. What's that about? This is what changed. Between deciding that I wanted to be a full-time coach and actually going for it, I had to sit at my desk for 12 months. 12 long, long months. And in that time, I started to see that world through new eyes. I started to see that motivated people had had their energy slip away from them. I could see people that had ideas they wanted to share, but they were too scared to do it. They were afraid of being laughed at. Sometimes they wouldn't be listened to, or worse, they just weren't even given a chance. Managers were there and they could have inspired their teams, but they didn't know how. So I started to think, what if things were really different? What if these talented people could be shown that with a simple change in mindset, they could go from feeling blocked and held back into a mindset of believing that there are opportunities out there, they just need to create them. Opportunities to connect, to learn and support each other. Opportunities to lead by example. It's our executives and leaders when they pass down messages, and they also pass down the actions to their teams. But when the two are incongruent, this is what happens. I've said already, people aren't motivated. They start clock watching. They don't share their ideas, and I did all 3 of those. It was really pretty miserable. So in those 12 months, I realized that I couldn't just walk away from this world, even though I'd been desperate to initially. I wanted to be part of changing it. I had to own my story. By owning my story, what do I mean by that? It means giving something back. It means realizing that the 9 hours we spend in an office every day, those 9 hours don't have to be a negative experience. We may never love our office jobs, but we certainly don't have to dread them either. Our time is precious and valuable, and these environments of hostility or simple disengagement don't need to be that way. It's not only that I wish things were different, I'm frustrated that they're not. 14 years will do that to you. Back in April, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's deeply embedded in the corporate world. She's happy with it and she's going to be there till she retires. She makes a very, very good living. And we were talking about the kind of leaders we've had, the kind of leadership legacies that people leave behind, and the type of leader that we would be if we were in that position. It inspired a blog post that I wrote back in the summer, and it kind of inspires my talk today, because leaders set the tone for an organization, and I'm frustrated at how organizations treat their staff and how they're not quite getting it right, because if they got it right, people would be more engaged. It's these experiences that lead me to bring more positivity into that world. Gallup, which is an international organization, did some research last year that said that 68.5% of the US workforce is completely disengaged. That's a lot of people who don't care about what they do. And this year, the London School of Business and Finance said that 45% of people want to change their careers because they're not happy, and 23% have absolute regrets over their career choice. These numbers are not good. Things need to change. But they won't change overnight. I read about leadership. I've seen it firsthand when it's done right and when it's not done right, and it reinforces why I want to work with these corporations, to train leaders and managers to treat their staff better, behave appropriately, so that they can get a more positive experience. Because if your workforce is happy, they're going to be more productive. A productive workforce will, is going to lead to more profits for a company, so I don't really understand why they don't go for it. But it's not just that. The reason why I want to do it is because when people leave the office at the end of the day, the mood they're in impacts everyone around them. It impacts your family, it impacts your friends, even the checkout clerk at a supermarket. Imagine the impact a happier workforce, the knock-on effect of a happier workforce on everyone around you. So how can this be done? Leaders need to be held accountable. Companies need to show their commitment to their employees, and they need to give their employees the chance to learn so that they remain engaged at work. So that's why I'm doing all of this. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now and get to how I'm doing it. I've already told you why it's important to me. The corporate world needs to embrace coaching more wholeheartedly, I believe. So, I'm in a room full of coaches. I'm in a room full of coaches, and you don't need me to tell you that your network is your most valuable asset. It's how introductions get made. It's where work comes from. It's where your closest champions can cheerlead for you. So, what else have I done? That's the basics. Okay, we've created partnerships with companies that have the contacts that I want. The contacts that I want to get in front of and talk to about my business. The teams who have problems that I know I can help solve. By nurturing that network, I've been able to create partnerships with firms in London, Bermuda, and Singapore. It takes time and attention, and there has to be quid pro quo. So whether it's setting up a referral percentage basis for the work they send my way, or if it's just simply that my services add a string to their bow, you've got to show them the value that you bring them. It's give and take, like in any relationship. So, to get in front of the people that you want to work with, and then get in front of them, show them, explain to them what you can give them. Know why you're the person for them. Own your story, because it's not your training that gives you credibility, it's your reason for coaching that does that. So before you get in front of any of these companies, own your story, don't run away from it, but be relevant by knowing your reason why. So my reason, I've said, I want to make work environments better. It doesn't come from a warm and fuzzy place inside me, not at all. It comes from my frustrations and anger of what I've seen. I've used those frustrations and anger to establish my reason why, to establish my hooks. And these hooks are what I use to get the attention of the people I want to speak to. So I'll tell you a little bit about some of my hooks. The first one is very simple, short and sweet introductory workshops for HR professionals that explain the concept of bringing coaching to their teams, of teaching their own managers how to coach their teams into better work practices, bringing a coaching culture to their whole company, a coach approach to their work environment. It's really simple. It's a very easy concept for them to understand, but I think sometimes with coaching it's not presented that way. It's certainly not in the corporate world. It gets very complicated. My next hook is relocation coaching. That got the attention of my business partners in Bermuda and Singapore, and that definitely came out of a sense of frustration. I'll tell you a little bit about how that happened. So 5.5 years ago, I moved to Bermuda. This tiny little jewel of an island in the middle of the Atlantic. I already had friends there, and I got myself a job, off I went. But it was hard. Even though I'd been there before, actually settling into living there was difficult. And I know that if I had had a coach to help me navigate the move, to help me find more fulfillment in my work, it would have been so much easier. But what happened? Within 11 months, I was back in London. And I know that if I'd had a coach, it would have been a positive impact, not just for me, but for the company that I went to work for. Because instead, they had to go through an entire recruitment process again, cost a lot of time and money, far more than having a relocation coach ever would have. So I used this hook to get my foot in the door with these companies. But that was just the beginning of that. I was then able to talk to them about leadership coaching, talk to them about how to bring coaching into their firms, and also to run workshops out there. My final hook that I'm going to talk to you about today comes from being angry. I worked at a company where they began an initiative to improve diversity and inclusion within the workplace. And in the process of that, they managed to alienate all the women managers, including myself. Let alone the fact that diversity isn't just about gender, they managed to turn it into a gender issue. And we were so mad. We said, you're lumping us all into this box-ticking exercise. Like, we're already here, we're doing well. It's great you're saying that you need more people, but the way that you're saying it, it just feels like whenever you next hire another woman, people will think, oh, well, she's just filling a quota. She's, was she the best person for the job? Who knows? But, we've upped our percentages. And the next thing that happened was I read a book by Laura Bates called Everyday Sexism. I recommend it, but I tell you, it will make your blood boil. It really will. It's a rallying call to society to have more conversations and see things from different people's perspectives. And all the while this is going on in my head, there's an initiative in the finance and insurance industry to improve diversity in the workplace. There's HR teams all over the industry trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And from this came my third hook. I created a whole workshop on diversity and inclusion. I've run it several times to companies in London, and I'm happy to say it's only just got confirmed last week. But in December, I'm debuting it in Bermuda as well. So it's super exciting right now. What can I say to you? By owning your story and by being relevant to the people who you want to speak to, that's the way to start having conversations. So you've got to look inside, find your hooks, find the hooks that mean something to you, and start singing about them. One thing remains, you've got to be patient. These corporations take a lot of time to make spending decisions. I'll give you an example. My first conversation with the firm I'm working with in Bermuda happened in December last year, and it's taken a whole year of talking to each other. I've been going out there for meetings with them and with other people, and it's only now, this December, that I'm getting my first proper gig with them. So be patient and be prepared to maintain relationships over extended periods of time. I'm going to finish now, coming up to the end of my 20 minutes, to tell you that I really love what I do, but I had to fall out of love with the corporate world to see that changes needed to be made. I had to get angry and frustrated at it to begin caring about it again. Knowing, though, that I can be part of that change, one client at a time, is what drives me to do this. And that's why I'm romancing the corporate world.